All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a really powerful idea from Nassim Nicholas Taleb's book, Skin in the Game. And trust me, this is one of those concepts that once you get it, you'll start seeing it absolutely everywhere. It's like a new lens for viewing the world. And this quote, it just nails the core of the problem Taleb is getting at. He's saying that our modern world is just jam-packed with so-called experts, pundits, academics, policymakers, who are fantastic at explaining why something should work in theory, but they have absolutely no connection to whether it actually works in the real world. They can talk a great game, but they never, ever have to play it. So what exactly is skin in the game? It's actually a pretty simple idea, but it's incredibly profound. It's not just about, getting a bonus when things go well. The really crucial part is symmetry. It's about taking the hits, feeling the pain when your decisions go south. You have to be exposed to the downside. If you get the rewards, you must also share in the risks. It's basically the ultimate BS detector. Now, what's really fascinating is that this isn't some new business buzzword or a clever new idea. Not at all. In fact, Taleb makes the case that this principle of symmetry is one of the oldest, most fundamental rules for any society that actually, works. I mean, we can trace this idea back almost 4,000 years to ancient Babylon. Hammurabi's code was basically built on this principle. The builder of a house couldn't just say, whoops, unforeseen structural issues, my bad. Nope. If the house fell and killed the owner, the builder had skin in the game, quite literally. This kind of brutal symmetry made damn sure that people couldn't just pass off hidden risks to others. And you can actually see this core idea of symmetry evolving through our moral history. You start with the very direct eye for an eye logic of Hammurabi. Then you get the silver rule, which is all about avoiding harm. And then the more proactive golden rule comes along. But if you look closely, they all come from the same basic place, the idea that you should have to experience what you make others experience. So this begs a huge question, right? If this rule is so ancient, so fundamental to justice and common sense, what in the world happened? How did we manage to build a modern world where so many powerful people get to operate completely without it? Well, the answer, according to Taleb, lies with a few key characters that have popped up in our modern society. These are the people who have figured out how to benefit from a broken system. They get to keep all the rewards from their decisions while cleverly passing off all the risks to the rest of us. First, you've got the interventionist. This is the expert sitting in a comfy, air-conditioned office, confidently writing articles about why we need to, say, intervene in some foreign country. If they're right, they get to say, I told you so. But if they're wrong, they don't lose a child or a limb on some faraway battlefield. Nope. They just write another article explaining what went wrong. It's others who pay the ultimate price for their abstract theories. Then, in the world of finance, you have what Taleb brilliantly calls the Bob Rubin trade. This is the perfect example of heads I win, tails you lose. Picture this. You get a job at a big bank, and in the good years, you make insanely risky bets and collect massive, massive bonuses. But when those bets inevitably blow up the entire system, well, you get to walk away with your millions, while the average taxpayer gets stuck with the bill for the bailout. It's a perfect, risk-free ride for the people at the top. And who are these people? Well, Taleb has a colorful name for them, the intellectual yet idiot, or the IYI. This is someone who's incredibly good at acing tests, using fancy jargon, and writing complicated papers, but is completely, utterly blind to how the real world works. And they can't see the giant holes in their own logic because they are totally, 100% insulated from the consequences of being wrong. Okay, so this lack of skin in the game doesn't just mess things up for individuals. It actually creates these really surprising, almost hidden rules that quietly run the world around us. And once you see them, you can unsee them. Okay, first up, the minority rule. Now, this has nothing to do with voting or democracy. This is about how a small but very, very stubborn group of people can end up dictating the choices for a much, much larger group of more flexible people. Just think about it for a second. Why are so many soft drinks in the US kosher? Well, it's because the person who keeps kosher will only drink kosher, but the person who doesn't, well, they don't really care if their drink is kosher or not. It's asymmetrical. The same thing happens with peanut allergies. Someone without an allergy can easily eat peanut-free food, but the reverse can be fatal for someone with the allergy. So what happens? The most intolerant preference always wins. It's a tiny, unbending minority with real skin in the game that ends up shaping the choices for everyone else. The second hidden rule is something called the Lindy effect. And the basic idea is this. For things that don't rot, like ideas, books, or technologies, the longer they've been around, the longer you can expect them to be around in the future. Why? Because time itself is the ultimate stress test. It's the ultimate filter for what actually works. So according to Lindy, who's the real expert, it's not the economist with a flashy new theory that's popular for a few years. It's the plumber whose techniques had been passed down and have worked for generations. It's not the latest TED Talk. It's the wisdom from classical thinkers like Seneca that has survived for millennia. It's your grandmother's advice, not the diet fad of the week. Things that last have proven they can survive in the real world. They've passed the ultimate skin-in-the-game test of time. So when you start looking at the world through this lens, it forces you to completely rethink some of our most basic ideas, starting with what it even means to be rational or to be a good person. You see, in a classroom, being rational means having beliefs that are perfectly logical and consistent. But for Taleb, rationality is something much more primal. It's about one thing: survival. It doesn't matter how smart or logical your model is if it leads you to complete ruin. The single most rational thing you can do is avoid going bust, because you can't come back from zero. Real-world rationality is about being paranoid about any risk that could wipe you out completely. And this idea completely reframes what virtue is. Being a good person isn't about talking a big game or tweeting about how much you care or going to fancy conferences to save the world. That's all cheap talk. Real virtue is courage. It's being willing to take a genuine personal risk to your reputation, to your career, maybe even to your safety, for the good of your community. It's about putting your own skin in the game for other people. So I'll leave you with this question. Start applying this lens to your own world. Look around at your job, at the media you watch, at the leaders in your community, and ask yourself, who's just talking and who's actually on the hook for the consequences of their actions? Who truly has skin in the game? I think you might be surprised by the answer.